Hi, and welcome to the Beer and Eggs podcast. My name is Jessica, and I'm here with my husband, Ryan. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I am excellent.
Well, that's good. We're actually recording this Sunday night, so we have lots of time to prepare it beforehand, to edit and all that. But, let's see. Oh, last week, I realized that we didn't actually explain why our podcast is called Beer and Eggs.
I also have no idea why it's called Beer and Eggs.
Yes, you do. You were there.
I was there when you were like, let's call it Beer and Eggs, and I was like, okay.
So
but I don't know the backstory, I guess.
Okay, so I put like some of like our information in like this podcast name generator on Google, and it came up with all like the usual stuff that you would expect, you know. And then right in the middle of all the suggestions was just Beer and Eggs, which had nothing to do with anything that I put in. And I was like, that one, it has to be it now.
Is using a generator...
It has to be it.
Is using a generator cheating?
No, I'm pretty sure lots of people have used name generators for lots of things.
Isn't there like a saying that goes along with that? Like... Didn't you research something?
Yeah, so we Googled it afterwards. And it was like, apparently, this saying goes, you want an egg in your beer? Which is like saying like, oh, you want more? Like, I already gave you plenty and you want something extra, which is like a super Ryan saying. I feel like that's something you would say. So it's perfect.
I'll add it to my playbook of weird things to say.
Yeah.
I have plenty of them, so.
But it sounds like a kind of gross combination, but all I'm gonna say is Beer and Eggs. Have you tried it? Have you tried it?
Have I tried it? No. The answer is no, Jessica. And I doubt
someday we'll have to try it.
I doubt that anyone. Well, hold on. Maybe not. That would be like a weird, like frat game. I feel like.
Oh my gosh.
Like, can you see that? Like headline, frat salmonella like strikes the whole frat because they were putting eggs in their beer.
Like raw eggs. Yeah, that's kind of gross. No, I was picturing more along the lines of like some sort of ice cold like breakfast beer and like a side of eggs.
A breakfast beer?
I don't know. Are there breakfast beers?
I don't know.
We'll have to find one. We'll have to find one sometime.
All right, what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to talk about bizarre events in history. So we have each taken the last week to research one event that we find very interesting.
You think I spent the whole week researching this?
Well,
you're going to be greatly disappointed.
I didn't spend the whole week, but I did do some digging, and I found something that's kind of interesting. But I think you should go first.
Yeah, we should probably save the better one for last.
Oh, I don't know if mine's going to be better, but it's definitely interesting.
Let the games begin. So my topic is on the 1904 Summer Olympics men's marathon, which I had read before, but after reading it again, it's a perplexing event for sure.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier today that you were talking about this. I have no idea what happened, so I'm really excited.
You might after hearing it again. So basically there's how many contestants were there? There are quite a few contestants from what I understand.
And you said it was the men's what?
Marathon.
Marathon, okay.
Yeah. So I'll just read the summary here, but so the first to arrive at the finish line after 3 hours and 13 minutes, and that was 13 minutes slower than the winning time in 1900, was this guy named Fred. And he was hailed as the winner. You know, everyone was all happy. He took a photograph with the daughter of Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
And they were like about to award him his gold medal when his like lie was revealed. So he dropped out of the race after 9 miles after suffering cramps, and then hitched a ride back to the stadium in a car, like waving at spectators. And the car broke down, so he just re-entered the race where the car broke down and finished.
Oh
The
my
first.
gosh.
Yeah. So then he was
Wow.
confronted, and he, you know, was just like, oh, I was just joking or whatever. And he got...
So
I
he's
think
saying he's just joking.
Yeah, he was just joking.
He's
so
like,
they like...
oh, it was a joke, guys.
They like
Ha."
banned him. They like banned him for life at first, and then eventually they were like, oh, it's just like a year. He ended up winning the 1905 Boston Marathon later. But that's just where the story starts.
Okay.
So you have, first off, you have this guy who just like hitched a ride and then was joking around and lying. But then you have this other guy. He ended up winning because the other guy was lying, obviously.
Uh-huh.
But he was like aided. So he was restrained from stopping or lying down by his trainers. So he was like having issues breathing and everything. So they gave him several doses of I might say this wrong, strychnine, which is a common rat poison.
Okay.
And it mixed with brandy to stimulate his muscles.
What the heck?
And like gives you contort like spasms and stuff.
Oh no.
So he was barely able, he was like hallucinating and barely able to walk for most of the course. His support team carried him over the finish line.
Wait, so you're saying this is the guy who ended up actually winning
won.
After the other guy lied?
Yeah, the other guy lied. This guy was getting dosed up with rat poison.
And his team carried him across the
Yeah,
finish
'cause
line?
he was-
How is that not cheating?
He was unable to like, I don't know. I guess
Who
there
else was in this race?
It's 1904. I don't think they had rules back then.
Well, I guess no one was able to like catch it on camera or anything, right?
No, they saw it. I just think they were like, "Yep, he made it."
Oh my gosh.
According to good old Wikipedia, they carried him over the line, holding him in the air while he shuffled his feet as if still running. Like his feet were not contacting the ground. He was just like, he couldn't stop running.
Oh my goodness.
From the rat poison, but he couldn't. He would just crumple to the ground.
Did he like survive?
Yeah, it said he might have died, but he was treated by several doctors. I don't know how they like kept him from dying. But apparently this was an issue in the 1900s, early 1900s. People were using this rat poison to do all kind to like modern day, you know, steroids.
Yeah.
But it was probably more detrimental than actually helpful.
I think so. It's poison.
So this guy too, apparently it's a good weight loss like drug. He lost 8 pounds during the course of the marathon.
What?
Yeah. So I could see maybe...
And this marathon was like 3 hours? So he lost 8 pounds in 3 hours.
Yeah. So that's
pretty crazy.
Water weight, but also like, I don't know if his muscles were just like getting torn out. I don't know how that works.
That poor dude.
But I'm curious if they used this for like boxing or like wrestling, you know, like making weight for games, if people were using this to try and cut weight really fast or something like that. But I couldn't really find too much on it. So that was the guy who won. There was another near fatality. They found this guy lying on the road along the marathon course with several internal injuries caused by breathing the clouds of dust. So they put these guys on the track and then they drove in front of them, but all of the tracks were on dirt roads apparently outside the stadium.
Yeah.
So everyone was just like breathing large amounts of dirt.
Wow, what a great idea.
And just like collapsing.
Was it like they were guiding them, like this is where you go?
I think so. I think they probably had to, because it was just like along country roads.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there was like tons of people lining the roads. Like, you know how you see now, they've got it pretty well marked off where you got to go. I'm not sure if they did that at all, or if they just were like follow the clouds of dust. So you're not only running a
marathon, but you're running a marathon behind this car who's kicking up all this dust in your face.
Yeah.
And he suffered internal injuries.
Yeah, apparently. He was like coughing so bad that he had tore some of his muscles in his abdomen. and he just collapsed.
Ouch.
There's this other guy who's a postman. He joined the marathon like last minute. After losing all his money in New Orleans, doesn't say why, he hitchhiked to St. Louis and had to run the event in street clothes that he cut around the legs to make them look like shorts. So he just had like his regular clothes on. And then because he hadn't eaten in over 40 hours, all that hitchhiking, he stopped off in an orchard en route to have a snack, which turned out to be rotten. The rotten apples caused him to have strong stomach cramps, and he had to lie down to take a nap. Despite falling ill from the apples and taking a nap, he finished in 4th place.
Oh my gosh, this was quite the race, dude.
It's not even over yet.
There's more.
Yeah, so this is like the whole rabbit and the hare story, you know? He like took a nap, still finishes 4th. He's like, oh,
that's
it's
awesome.
fine. Apparently the nap was all he needed because he felt great afterwards and finished the race, so.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, there's a couple other guys that looks like they dropped out. 10 miles, another guy dropped out at 16 miles, probably due to the dust and just the conditions. Oh yeah, so it was the first time there were South African entrants in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy named, I don't know if I'm gonna say it right, Len Tao. They thought there was actually probably quite a bit of support for this guy winning, but he got chased nearly a mile off course by wild dogs apparently during the race.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why he finished. So he finished 9th.
And he still finished 9th.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think, I forget how many finished, but there was like 30 something entrants and only 14 finished.
Wow, this is like race to the death, dude.
No, this is like the first like government conspiracy thing, right? So during this whole race, there's only 2 sources of water for the competitors. There's water at 6 miles and then at the 12-mile mark. The organizer decided to allow only 1 water station at the on the 24.85 mile course, even though it was conducted in 90-degree heat over unpaved roads choked with dust. His ostensible reason was to conduct research on purposeful dehydration, as he called it.
Oh, great. So all these people now are just part of this wonderful experiment without even knowing it.
The marathon ended with the worst ratio of entrants to finishers, 14 out of the 32. And by far the slowest winning time, 30 minutes slower than the... just really bad times, apparently. Yeah. But yeah, so not only were all these guys, like, having a terrible time with the road and the dust and getting poisoned by your support team and getting chased by wild dogs, the guy who organized it was like, I'm going to study how dehydrated these guys can be.
You know what would be fun? Let's see if these dudes just, like, didn't drink water. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, obviously they're not going to do well. I can tell you that.
I mean, we didn't know until now, I guess.
They didn't know this in the early 1900s.
Thank goodness for this man. He showed us that purposeful dehydration is not good.
So I was going to ask, did anyone die?
No. Surprisingly.
Shockingly.
No one died.
Well, that's good.
But...
because that could have
just
easily
a very
happened.
Poorly planned marathon with some interesting people competing.
Very interesting. And that was the Olympics, right?
Yes.
Like, that's not just some, like, race or some marathon.
No.
Like, in your town. That's the Olympics.
Like, the actual thing that we all watch on TV now that's super big and super well organized, mind you, now. 1904 apparently was not their year.
Well, we have come a long way. That's for sure.
I think the rat poison was the one that got me on this one. I was like, why? What?
I want to know, wait, so that kind of implies that they already knew that rat poison did that to you.
Yeah, the
So who was it that figured that out?
I don't know. All I know is that there's not been any, like, medical studies, according to Wikipedia, on it, but it's been used.
It was just like a
for
thing
like
back then.
to attempt to like doping,
Oh my gosh, they're like, what really works? Just get some rat poison.
Maybe it's just like a trade secret.
Yeah, trade secret. That's what it was.
I don't know. Yeah, performance enhancer. It was used as an athletic performance enhancer and recreational stimulant in the late 19th and early 20th century due to its convulsant effects. This one guy, Butch, proposed it as a cure for alcoholism. It was thought to be similar to coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It reminds me of when, Coca-Cola used to have actual cocaine in it, right? They're like, this is fine.
Well,
this is great.
It used to be, medicinal, right? They used to think that it would cure all sorts of things, like a cure-all or something crazy like that. But I guess that's another story.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Well,
that was my story. It was so wonderful.
Thank you for sharing. That was entertaining from beginning to finish.
It was just the suffering of, not only were they having to run, but they were just not doing good the whole time.
That's pretty crazy. Well, my bizarre event happened roughly about 50 years before yours.
Okay.
So, have you heard of an author named Edgar Allan Poe?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure many of us have heard of him. The Telltale Heart.
He has a bunch of short stories, right?
He's got a bunch of stuff. I think we read it in high school
At
or
least
middle
a couple
school.
of things.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, great author. I don't know if he's considered a horror author or what his genre would be considered, but they're kind of creepy, suspenseful, very suspenseful stories. Well, my bizarre event is the manner in which he died.
I have no idea how he died.
And I was going to ask you, do you know how Edgar Allan Poe died? It's very mysterious.
Is it like a Rasputin type of
I don't know how Rasputin died.
They poisoned him twice, tried to drown him in a river, and shot him. And
oh my gosh!
He lived through 4 of them, or 4 assassination attempts, or something crazy like that.
Well, they don't exactly know, and that's why there's a lot of mystery around it. Because it happened in 1849. They found him on September 27th, and he ended up dying on October 8th.
Okay.
But here's the story. So Edgar Allan Poe was supposed to travel from Richmond, Virginia to Philadelphia. He was going to help a fellow writer edit some poetry. But Poe never made it to Richmond, Virginia. Instead, he was found outside a what is it called?
Like a bar?
Yes. How did you know? Oh my
goodness. This is pretty stereotypical. I'm setting up the scene in my mind,
Yes, he was found outside a bar, or a saloon. That's what it was called. Okay. Yes, that's the word that they used in this article. He was found outside a saloon. He was dressed in very strange clothes that were not his own, and he was delusional. Mm-hmm. He would thrash around. He would go between unconscious and delirious. Mm-hmm. And he eventually died. And so that's how Edgar Allan Poe died. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're thinking he was poisoned somehow.
With rat poison, you think?
It goes all the way back. This is the origin story of the rat poison.
You're literally describing to me a lot of the symptoms of that poison.
That's
hallucination,
so
convulsions.
We did not plan this, you guys.
We've figured it out.
But
we've solved the murder.
But there's more to this story.
Oh.
Because there's a very, very compelling theory. The leading theory of what happened to him was that he was a victim of something called cooping. Do you know what cooping is?
No, it sounds creepy.
So, in the 19th century, voting was extremely dangerous.
Wait, when?
In the 19th century.
Okay.
Voting was extremely dangerous. There were people who would grab people off the streets, beat them up, get them drunk or high on opium. They would dress them up in different disguises, and they would force them to vote at multiple polling places. And the polling place that Poe was found was in this saloon. So he was found right outside this polling place that was in the saloon.
It had a polling
yes,
place
there was
in
a
the
polling
saloon?
place in the bar. That was one of the places you would go to vote.
Dude, that would make voting so much better.
I know,
like,
right?
Honestly.
Just have like one drink and then go vote.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the way that he was discovered, it indicates that he was probably a victim of cooping, of this kind of activity that people did. Because he was in different clothes and he was delirious. And he was found outside
were
the saloon.
The poll, like the people taking the votes, were they in on it? Were they just fine with it?
Or were they
just
under
like,
threat
of violence as well?
You're here. You're ready to vote. There. I guess I'm assuming there was no method of like identifying people, like showing your identification and like keeping track of all of it. It was just like,
yeah, but if they got him too delirious, like I don't even know how.
I mean, he was pretty delirious too, so I'm surprised. Maybe it like took some time to go into effect, like this stuff that they gave him,
or they gave him too much or something.
Or they gave him too much. I have a hard time believing that the people running this would allow someone to sit down and vote or whatever if you were just like acting like a crazy person.
I mean, yeah, unless they were like under the threat of violence as well.
I mean, maybe.
But why? But then why would they even need to get another person? Just
yeah, why? That's ballots. Like a lot of steps. You could just walk in and be like.
So they clearly had to fool. Yeah, they had to fool the poll people, you know.
Yeah.
And then turn in. They're just like, we've never seen you before. You're from out of town.
Yeah, like
come and vote at our saloon.
But that's the leading theory, and I think that's the most convincing one. But there's a couple other ones that range from like rabies to like mercury poisoning. But none of that really describes why he was like somewhere where he shouldn't have been. And he was dressed in strange clothes.
Was he like off of the trail of the normal route of travel?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea if this particular place he was found was like on the way. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it wasn't, since they mentioned it like it was crazy that he would be here. But
yeah. So, but he had a whole month in the hospital then, or where someone taking care of him?
Pretty much. It looks like he was, I mean, I'm assuming they took him to a hospital because that's what you do with someone like that. But yeah, I guess it took him a few weeks to finally die.
When he never came out of his delirium or whatever.
He never did. He kept screaming or repeating this name Reynolds over and over again. And then that was it. And then he died.
That's not creepy.
I know. It's tragic, obviously, because we're talking about a human life. But it's also very, like, ironic because he was a mystery writer, and then his death was so mysterious. It almost played out like one of his stories.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's weird.
Very, very strange. But yeah, that's my bizarre event in history. I have one more that we could talk about.
Is it as creepy as that one?
No, it's not as creepy.
I'm just gonna have like a dream of like me screaming Reynolds now.
Oh my goodness.
And then you're gonna wake up and be like, Ryan, be quiet.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, no, stop. Let's see if I can bring it up, the article that I found it on. So we talked about this the other night, or did we?
I don't know.
We might not have. So in London, I forget which century, I'll look it up in a minute, but there was this thing called the Great Beer Flood.
Oh.
Have you heard of it?
Is this the beer flood, or is this the the molasses?
No, that's a separate event.
That's a separate event. Yeah, that one.
There's also one of molasses.
Dude, the molasses one killed so many people. I forget what the like actual final name they gave it was.
I found it when I was researching. I think it was just the Molasses Flood.
The Molasses Flood.
Yeah.
It took out the whole town.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But I thought this would be fitting, since it is the Beer and Eggs podcast, to talk about the London Beer Flood.
Have there been any
egg tragedies? 1814.
Have there been any egg tragedies?
Egg tragedies? No, we should find some egg-related tragedies too.
Here's the beer one.
But the beer one, so it happened at the Horseshoe Brewery in London in 1814. What happened was the pressure of the escaping liquid inside the wooden vats of fermenting beer basically they burst.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it says right here, 154,000 to 388,000 gallons of beer were released.
Mm-hmm.
It killed 8 people. And what I read before is that the days after this event, the streets around this brewery were just filled with people completely drunk. Like, there was mass drunkenness and debauchery.
Were they collecting it?
Yes. So people people lost their lives during this.
Mm-hmm.
But other people just would, like, come and just, like, grab some of the beer. And I'm pretty sure one dude ended up dying of alcohol poisoning.
So it was like the greatest day ever for some people.
For some people. And then the worst day ever for other people. And some people were like, oh, free beer. Meanwhile, 8 people lost their lives.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it's no longer a brewery. It later became a theater after it went bankrupt.
Well, because they lost all their beer.
Yes. And now I don't think it exists anymore. Mm. But yeah, that was the Great Beer Flood.
The Beer Flood of 1814.
Yep.
Oh,
wait, did the Molasses Flood happen in London too?
I don't know. You should look that one up too. The Molasses Flood. Yeah, it was. And there's like. You can't swim in molasses.
The Molasses Flood happened in Boston.
Yeah. But you can't swim in molasses.
Yeah, that'd be pretty terrifying.
No, you just got stuck and you
drowned.
Like
beer is like still like a liquid, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, enough of it would definitely cause harm. But like molasses, like you get stuck in that, like you can't move. It's like quicksand probably.
It's
or like I'm trying to think of something else dangerous.
It's thicker than Jello.
Yeah.
Like you would
suffocate, especially if it got on your face.
Yeah, you would just sink into it and then fall. Well, there's so much of it, you can't like tread it.
Yeah, and you can't like eat your way out of it.
I mean, I guess you could try. How many people perished in that one?
Let's see.
There is probably a ton, dude. Yeah, like it took out an entire.
It killed 21 people and injured 150.
Yeah.
It says the event entered local folklore, and residents claimed for decades afterwards that the area still smelled of molasses on hot summer days.
Yep.
So it's like a ghost story.
It was ridiculous. Apparently, if you read further, but there's a bunch of safety inspections that were done on the tank, and they were notified multiple times that they needed to replace it or fix it or whatever.
No.
And it just
So it's like a
burst.
Titanic situation. So they were negligent.
Yeah, there's negligence.
With their infrastructure, and then it cost people their lives. That's sad.
Yeah. Yep. Molasses Flood.
My bizarre events were a lot darker than yours, because mine involved death, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm glad that yours, everyone survived.
Mine had a happy ending.
Yeah.
I mean, we moved forward with science that dehydration is bad. We learned that rat poison isn't a good way to win a marathon.
So the modern world has benefited greatly from that event.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Yeah, well...
But not so much from the molasses or the
no.
beer.
But, I mean, it did... From what I read, there were a lot of regulations that had to be put in place because of these incidents.
It always follows tragedy, it seems like.
Yeah,
so.
It's like... They're not going to do anything to prevent something. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, well, okay, let's do this from now on so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like how our events all happened, like, within 100 years from each other, basically. A lot of stuff went down in that time,
Well,
I guess.
Yeah, like industry was kind of newer, less regulated.
Was it around the Industrial Revolution? I don't even know when that is. You'll know when that is. Tell me.
I finished my history class and I brain dumped everything. Sorry.
Okay, wait. We have to finish this off. When did the Industrial Revolution happen?
If we didn't have Google, we would just both.
We'd be like, I don't know.
Be incredibly.
Yeah, the Industrial Revolution was between 1760 to 1840. So, right after.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Right after all that stuff. We're like, oh, well, guess what happens after you build all this stuff? You have to make sure that it doesn't kill people.
Well, that, and they after the Industrial Revolution, I think, is when they started actually limiting child labor in all the factories and stuff, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were making kids work like 14 to 16-hour days,
I
6
know.
days a week. And
so
a lot
sad.
of the machines were coal-fired. So the factories were just filled with soot. So if, like, the machines didn't kill you, like, the coal would just get you.
That's such a depressing note to end on. You gotta give me something positive.
No one died in the marathon.
Oh, that's true. No one died in the marathon.
Well, they eventually, like, regulated it out. So
Yeah.
kids...
Oh, that's a positive note.
Yeah.
We don't have that stuff anymore.
No, we don't have sweatshops now.
Nope, we don't have that.
We just buy things
We don't
from
have
other
beer
people's
floods,
sweatshops.
or you're not allowed to beat someone up and get them drunk and high before you send them off to go vote.
That's true. That's true. We've come a long way.
We have come so far.
So far.
Yep, I'm so proud of us.
Oh my gosh.
All right, well, I guess we can end it there. And yeah, because we hit 30 minutes. Wow, that was fast.
Yay!
All right. Well, we will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.